pleasure to introduce you to Maria Wheatley this afternoon. Maria is a second generation dowser and is a professional dowser and very much respected force with the earth energies is Maria. She's a well accomplished author. She's written several books on earth energies and sacred sites, and I know that she's been invited to speak on national television for Channel 4 and for the History Channel about her knowledge to do with earth energies. So it's a really great pleasure to have her here today, giving us this free talk about how sacred sites and the earth energies interact with our energy system to bring us healing through the chakras. So I'll leave you with the capable hands of Maria, and I'll see you in a little while.
Well, thanks, Sue, for that wonderful introduction. And thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for coming along to this talk. Like Sue said, I'm a second generation dowser, and I'm going to introduce some different concepts about water and about chakras to you, and about sacred sites such as Avebury, because my love and my passion is with sacred sites. Yeah, I love Stonehenge, I love Glastonbury, I love all of these places because they're gateways, they're portals to change. Yeah. So the types of energies that I work with are like some very famous energies like ley lines. We've all heard of those, haven't we? Linking sacred sites to each other in a straight linear line. That's a ley line. And around some ley lines, like at Avebury, you have meandering currents, yin and yang currents, entwined in that ley line, and they're called Mary and Michael in this area. And to the ancient Chinese, those yin-yang energies that entwine the ley line like a caduceus are very, very powerful. In China, they were called Long Mei, the dragon's breath, the power in the land. And how the ancient Chinese looked at all forms of earth energies and ley lines was in a magical, very poetical way. They imagined that the dragon's breath, like that, was all around you. So when we start to think of earth energies, you think of them rising out of the earth amid you, yeah? And earth energies have colour. They have a rainbow colour. So you know all of the colours of the rainbow, like all of the colours of the chakras? That's how earth energies are. They're a rainbow colour. And if you ever come out on one of my workshops or tours, we'll show you special photography that you can capture these rainbow colours, yeah. So earth energies, they're very, very magical. They're the dragon's breath. And also with earth energies, you've got the leys, you've got Long Mei. The most powerful form of earth energy is a spiral pattern, yeah? It's a spiral like this, and spirals are forever, ever moving. And at Avebury, at the pyramids, in Mexico, in the Holy Lands, the Knights Templar, the Masonic Brotherhood who build lodges, the dreaded Illuminati, they all build their constructs above the spiral pattern. Yeah? It's a really, really strong pattern. And even Hamish Miller, and I expect a few of us have heard of Hamish Miller, a very famous dowser, yeah? Yeah, knew him, fantastic chap. Even Hamish Miller said that one energy pattern, a spiral, will cause Mary and Michael to veer off in another direction. It's the power in the land. And here at Avebury, the geospiral pattern is where the obelisk stone is. In the southern inner circle, you have a concrete marker erected in the 1930s by Alexander Keeler, and that marks the geospiral pattern. So what causes this? What causes this type of earth energy, for example? What causes this vortex motion in the land? Well, in England, we all know what rainwater's like, don't we? Yeah? It falls from the sky and it fills up the aquifers and it makes underground streams, doesn't it? A geologist would tell you that, and I would agree with that and say, yeah, that's one type of water. But to a second generation water diviner such as myself, we say there's two types of water. That's yang water that falls from the sky, and where that goes through the earth and underground streams, that causes geopathic stress. You don't want to live above that, yeah? It's not too good. There's another type of water, a very sacred type of water that we call yin water. And yin water is made chemically deep within the earth. A geologist would now say, Maria, that's mental. That's where water comes from. But to ancient water diviners, the Earth Mother, she makes fluids within her body. And where that type of water breaks through to the surface, that's your sacred spring. Where that type of water is bored, that's your holy well. Yeah? And you know, I've been saying this for many, many years, yeah, to lots of different people and in lots of different countries and things. And sometimes you met, like, oh, especially against, you know, left-brain scientists, they go, oh, there's no such thing. But there's a doctor in America, head of a university called Dr. Gerald Pollack, and he's just realised water under pressure, yeah, really sustained water in the earth that goes shh and comes up and breaks through in that spring. It's not H2O, it's H3O2. And H3O2 is that healing water of the earth. Now, you don't have to drink that water, you can stand above it, yeah, because these represent earth chakras. Those spiral energy points are chakras. So they're kind of like earth chakra points. So we can interact with these earth chakra points. We can interact with that energy just being in that energy field. So, for example, how the ancient druids of this land looked at these spiral energy points was, okay, that's an earth chakra, yeah? And Avebury, it's the heart. It's the heart centre. We can start to interact with these energies by literally standing on the spiral pattern. That's standing within about 20 metres of the obelisk stones. That's quite some distance, bigger than this room. Geospirals are huge spiral patterns. You can stand on that energy field because the ancients, like the Templars and other ones, thought anything in that energy field begins to heal. Yeah. So you could place water by the obelisk stone, you place yourself by the obelisk stone, and you start to self-heal. Well, there was a lot of evidence for this from the Second World War, because there was a very famous master dowser called Guy Underwood. And Guy Underwood did a lot of research into this spiral pattern. And it was, it must have been in the late 80s, there was a chap from Glastonbury called John Martineau who just happened to be by a bonfire. And there was this like rampant chucking stuff on the fire. And he had a look at what was going on the fire. And it was all these unpublished surveys of ancient sites worldwide that this guy called Guy Underwood did. So he saved all of his manuscripts. Because my late father was considered a master dowser, he said, look, have all of these surveys. And so over the past sort of like 40 years, a lot of research has gone into Underwood. And just after the Second World War, he interviewed all the survivors that came from France, with a majority of survivors that had gone through D-Day in France. And he said to some of them, what was your experience? And they all started to say a similar story related to the spiral pattern. Yeah. They all said, 9 times out of 10, we used to lie down where the cows or sheep laid. Yeah. Now, to ancient farmers in this country, you'd build your farmhouse where the sheep doth lay. In ancient China, in India, where the cow doth lay, that's really considered really good energy, because animals know what's good for them. Half the time we don't, do we? But animals know what's good for them. So wherever they would lie down, the soldiers started to lie down by them. And then they would wake up the following morning, and bear in mind it's cold, it's windy, you've got a backpack, you're facing possible death. It must have been a very fearful moment for these guys. But nonetheless, they got up feeling really good, refreshed. All their aches and pains had gone. And so Guy Underwood started to look into this and found out there was the healing properties of the spiral. But more than that, if that's not magical enough, a woman would come to them in their dreams. It could be their mother, their lover, their aunt, whatever. And she would communicate with them that they would survive the war, for example. So it's believed by the spiral pattern, the goddess Gaia can manifest and give you a message. So we can tune in to the geospiral chakra patterns and ask for messages. And quite often it is. Now, this sacred type of water as well, beneath this spiral pattern, what does water do? What's one of its kind of metaphysical principles? Cleanse. It can cleanse, absolutely, it can cleanse. Anything else? Hydrates.
Refresh. Refresh.
Yeah, so it can do all of these things, yeah? And also, to add to this, it can have memory. can't it? Water has memory, yeah? So imagine now, at the centre of the southern inner circle here at Avebury, beneath that spiral pattern of where Mother Earth's water is, that sacred yin water, it has memory. So when you go and interact with that, if you set your intent to try and understand the holy history of a site, it will give you that. Yeah? So quite often in meditations that I do on the earth chakras, we connect with the site's holy history. Yeah? And again, 9 times out of 10, people start saying a similar story about what's happened at Avebury, for example, or at whatever sacred site. So not only do these spiral patterns mark sacred water, they contain the site's holy history as well. And, like you said, they can cleanse. How can they cleanse me then? Yeah, going to give another fact now that geologists and people would probably disagree with. The sacred holy water can cleanse, and it cleanses in a particular manner. What are we made up of? Water. Yeah. What does water have? Memory. Yeah. So I say to people, not only do our brains retain memories of the past, yeah, like when I was 5 or whenever, my body water holds on to memory. And every now and again, if you refresh and replenish your body water, then again you can be having a feeling of being self-healed. So at sites like Avebury, what we can do is we can tune in to that sacred inner water, we can tune into that energy field. Remember Long May? It's all above you, yeah? So earth energy comes out of the ground. It isn't actually necessarily in the earth. And it comes out in a rainbow colour, yeah? Now, we know it comes out in a rainbow colour because other master dowsers have said this, but there's a chap, I don't know if you've heard of Harry Oldfield? Yeah, we've got nods away. Well, Harry Oldfield, for those that don't know Harry Oldfield, he developed a filter to go over a camera, yeah? And he claims that that filter can capture earth energy, yeah? Or any type of energy, actually. So I'm quite specific when I go out with people. The energy's here, it ain't there. The energy's here, it ain't there, sort of thing. So he said, can we go to Wheatley Smithy, because there's one stone that has energy, and I'll tell you how stones become empowered with energy in a moment, and it isn't over there. So he took a series of photographs, and the energy came out in the chakra colour sequence. It came out in reds, right the way up to purples, up the stones, which is like our chakra system, isn't it? So all of this colour is coming out of the ground. It's coming out of the ground from these earth energy points that can heal and refresh us. So we have evidence for this. We really do have a lot of evidence. And the amazing thing as well, we decided to film, you see, earth energy doesn't pour out of the ground like that. You know, like a dolphin swims through the seas, doesn't it? Well, earth energy can do that as well. Earth energy will come out of the ground, it will travel over the ground, it will go in the ground, causing what's called a nodal point, and then it will come back out of the ground, a bit like that dolphin swimming like that. So we decided to take photographs where the earth energy came out in the colour chakra sequence, red to the violets, and where it goes in the ground, it takes the beautiful violets and reds down into the ground as well. So imagine this colour sequence happening all around us. So what I would say to you guys to interact with earth chakras is go out to Avebury, go out to the southern inner circle, kick off your shoes if the weather's nice, you're not going to get too cold feet, stand within its energy field, yeah, and make a connection to the earth, yeah, make a connection between your own kind of body water and the vast amount of water, that sacred water be up in the ground. You can do this in an easy way, like imagine a cord, you know, like to ground yourself in a meditation. Imagine a cord going deep, deep, deep into those waters, yeah, way, way down, and it's anchoring you, yep, into the geospiral, it's anchoring you into the meditation. Now how the Druids would see things is they see beneath your feet is Earth Star Chakra. Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with that. So you imagine that that's the earth, and from that cord, visualize a golden sphere of light, because whenever Earth manifests light, it tends to be an amber colour. So imagine that from that cord connecting you to those deep waters, there's a beautiful amber light, and it's coming up and it's going to make a connection with your feet. Yeah, just do that with your feet and feel that connection, and your feet might tingle, or they might get a bit warmer, or for some people they might feel a bit cooler. You make that connection. Now imagine that light is going to come up through your body now, yeah? So the amber light is going to fill up your legs, and it's going to come to the next element. We've had earth, it's going to come to water here, because the ancient Druids saw this base chakra as being water, because it's a sexual centre, which is fluid. Babies are born through the birth process in fluid. We're not solid beings, we are truly fluid. Mother Earth isn't solid, she's fluid. So you come up through this element here of water, and you really start to imagine your whole body waters being cleansed all around this area, all with the amber light. And in gratitude, you know, just release any memory that you have of bad sex, for one. Anything like that, anything to do with that centre. We've all had those oh crap moments. And let all of that go, you know, with love as well, and with gratitude, and with, you know, a smile. Let it go into the waters. Mother Earth will take that. She'll take away your pain, and she will refresh you. You just got to do that and trust in the process. So spend some time around there. The Druids, they kind of then didn't say, well, then we don't have to go through our navel, and we don't have to go through our solar plexus. They go straight to the heart. You've got earth with the feet, you've got water here, and then you go to fire of the heart, yeah? And again, so you let the amber light go up through your system to your heart. Now let that amber light now burn bright, burn beacon bright, because it's the illumination of that fire. And start to cleanse all of those emotions and stuff that you had when you were a kid, you know, oh, and she pulled my hair and stuff. Anything that comes, let it go into the deep, deep waters of the earth. Replenish your whole energy system like that. And you really do feel, when you work with the heart centre and you're working with Gaia's heart centre, power. Because by yourself working with chakras, yeah, you're empowered. You are, of course you are. You're doing meditation, but work with a planetary chakra. You have the might of Mother Earth. You have a planetary body that's 4 billion years old, and I think I'm old. That's a planetary body, 4 billion years old, with all of that knowledge and all of that grace, and we are her children. So bring that up with love and let anything go. Then the Druids, again, they kind of skip things now. They go from the heart and they go way up here to air. Yeah, this is the element air. So all these chakras up here from the throat up, they represent the element of air. Yeah. So again, you let the amber light come up here and come all the way up, and then just connect to your crown, open up, and then let all of those negative thoughts that you have about yourself. I mean, sometimes we wake up, don't we, and we feel, you know, oh, this and that, we might moan about this and that. Anything that's in your space now is affecting your waters, let it all go out, yeah? And just in that moment of sheer love and gratitude of working with the planetary chakra, bring in what it is you need in this centre. And also, when you're cleansing the element air, you're cleansing your third eye. You'll see beacon bright soon. You're cleansing your connection with Great Spirit or God or the management, as Hamish used to call it, whatever you want to call that. And bring in an extra bit of light, and then woo, just let it all go back down through the system, and then give that love back to Mother Earth. And you can do that at any centre of a site. Because what the ancients were doing when they were making places like Avebury and Stonehenge and the pyramids and Templar churches in this area, they looked for the esoteric centre. And that geospiral pattern represents the esoteric centre. Because I can tell you, as any archaeologist would, that the obelisk stone in the southern inner circle ain't at the centre. It's not at the geometrical centre, it's off-centre. Go to Stonehenge, the altar stone, that's not at the centre, it's at the off-centre. Now my mum, she loves watching Downton Abbey. I don't know if you guys watch Downton Abbey. But I'll tell you how the poshies and the Masons and the Templars would look for the esoteric centre. You know, when you go to a stately home, you go down a sweeping drive, don't you? It's going to the esoteric centre of their land. Yeah? It's symbolic. The esoteric centre of your house is important. Yeah? It's how, you know, an esoteric, old-fashioned occultist would gain their power. You go to the esoteric centre. So at Avebury, esoteric centres are marked by these spiral patterns, yeah? But in your own home, you can create sacred space by imagining the esoteric centre of your house, off-centre, never the geometrical centre, near, by imagining that you're putting that spiral into the ground. Do you see what I mean? Anchor in those energies, do it with power, do it with authority. And that's why stately homes always in the esoteric centre of their land. The ancient Chinese heard they're good at feng shui or feng shui, depending how you pronounce it. A Chinese man told me off for saying feng shui, no feng shui, I had to say feng shui. So whatever you want to call it, I say tomato, you say tomato. Peking, their ancient capital, that was in the centre of their esoteric country. Do you see what I mean? It's all very, very symbolic. So you do that in your home and literally empower your home. So anyway, we've got all of these wonderful patterns, we've got these spiral patterns. What happens when you put a stone into it? What happens when you put a church over the top of it? What happens when you put a pyramid over the top of it? Magic, yeah? It comes alive. And it comes alive in such a wondrous way, it's incredible. You've got the spiral pattern, yeah? Let's just say that for argument's sake. It's marking the esoteric centre, it pushes energy out. You put a stone into it, yeah? One of the Avebury stones, you can't get better than that, can you? An Avebury stone. You put that into the pattern, the stone starts to behave in a particular manner. And it does so by absorbing the earth energy, yeah? Because a stone's rooted into the ground, isn't it? And it comes up. Say we've got, do you know how far down the stones at Avebury go? No? It's a third again. It's the length of my leg, most of the stones. Just that. Now imagine you're at Stonehenge with a trilithon weighing 90 tonnes all in all, and it's down that. That's how clever they were at engineering skills, yeah? Yay for the ancestors. So you put the stone into the ground and you plug it into the earth energy pattern. It starts to absorb the energy up, and it does in 7 bands. Imagine a band like this, going through my chakras, yeah, and going round, and kind of spiralling round me to create an energy band, yeah. Put the stone into the pattern, and it creates 7 bands of energy, representing megalithic chakras, yeah. 2 are below ground, base chakra and navel, and all the rest are above ground. Now, the ones that are above ground, there's 5 above ground and 2 below, yeah? And these are very, very powerful. Get a dowsing one, bang, gets the rod going. I take people out that have never touched a dowsing rod in their life, yet I show that, and little kids as well. Kids are brilliant, they pick it up, and you find these energy bands. You can find them with your hands as well. The second energy band above ground does something truly amazing. It sends an electromagnetic signal to the next stone, to the next stone, to the next stone, creating a matrix like a spider web on the inside of a stone circle, because all the stones are communicating with one another, for example. Oh yeah, some people might say, talking, stones talking, energy bands. Is this woman for real? Yeah? Well, I come from a left-brain archaeologist qualification, but I've come from a family of mystics, yeah? So I kind of do that. So I was very used to archaeologists, because I used to do tours with an archaeologist. And then we'd go to the pub afterwards, and they'd always say, oh, everything with humour is anecdotal, touchy, feely, and it peed me off. Because I was always the butt of the joke. So I said, right, to quite a famous archaeologist of this area, 100 quid, bets you that's for real. Game on. So I said, right, we go to Oxford University, we get a team with us, we get some electromagnetic testing equipment, and we'll test it once and for all to see if those stones emit energy bands, yeah? And they said, what, because your dad said so? 100 quid, game on. So we got the laptop, very intelligent people. I had to douse the bands, it's here, and with a very light piece of chalk, just did that so they could then measure it all. They did a control, because you have to have a control in the science way of thinking, and they started to measure it. But they're really clever chaps, because they made it audible so we could hear it, so it would go to a buzz effect basically. So if it hit a band, it'd go zzz, and if it didn't hit a band and it wasn't an electromagnetic signal, it'd go really quiet. That's how it was, yeah? And there was me and Busty, and this chap was called Rodney Hale, and I was looking really confident, but then I was thinking, oh no, please, yes, we've all doused it, we've all doused it. You do have that questionable moment. Anyway, they got the equipment, I doused the energy bands, and they got it, and it went zzz, literally, yes! Like that. Then it went dead quiet, and now they're starting to look around at one another, and then it goes zzz. So of course my confidence is building up now, thinking yes, I go, oh, the next one should be really loud because it's communicating to the next stand, and it was magical. It went zzz, like that, and they said, oh, we've got to do it again. It could be something wrong with the equipment, it could be this, it could be that. So I said, come anytime, meet me here at any time, and you can do that. And they did. They did it several times, yeah. And it came out. They do what's called a statistical t-test. Try saying that after 2 Stellas. They do this test, and it registers whether the percentage is real or not. And it came out 99.9% that there's electromagnetic signals coming out of those stones where they're rooted into the ground, yeah? Maria got 100 quid and several pints at the pub and no taking the mick out afterwards, which was really good for me. But more than that, they decided to go away and analyse those signals, yeah? Because a signal gives off a Hertz frequency, yeah? And the Earth itself gives off what's called the Schumann resonance. It's 7 Hertz all of the time. That's Mother Earth's heartbeat. It's 7 Hertz, yeah? And we were wondering what the Hertz frequency was of these amazing signals that were coming out of the ground. And it was wondrous because they said it's 18 Hertz. And I said, oh, maybe I knew what that meant. Oh yeah, 18 Hertz, yes. And they said, do you know the implications of 18 Hertz? Well, not really. And they said, we hear at 20. Yeah? So it's just below your audible ability to hear. And then, of course, I had this eureka moment. I said, what if our ancients had, well, they didn't live in a polluted environment, for one. What if they could hear the sound of the stones? Yeah? And the Aborigines always said song lines, didn't they? Yeah? So I think, undoubtedly, not only is earth energy, that rainbow colour coming out of the land, you can hear, well, if you have exceptionally good hearing, you could hear it. So earth energy you can hear, and you could see, should you have those abilities. So what does this mean when I stand against a stone then? When I'm stood against these chakras, what on earth could that mean? What it means is, as you're standing against the stone, yeah, and you lean against it like that, and we've done some extra tests for this, it's seemingly that if, say for example, my solar plexus is out of balance, yeah, more of that colour energy, yellow, like the sun for example, seems to accumulate around that area. Because we did some tests, yeah, where they put in, I think it was something mad, like 500 metres of copper round in these coils for me to lean on the energy band like that, and then to move away to see what happened, because they're starting to get interested now, because these are electromagnetic signals. So I did that, and you couldn't wear any metal, you know, it was all control and that sort of thing. And what they found was, this type of energy coming from the megaliths stays with me long after I've interacted with the stone. And it stays with me for about 4 days. Now in Europe they were using Kirlian photography, which measures electromagnetic signals, not the colour around you, you know, really strong Kirlian photography. And what they found was you interact with the stones just for 3 minutes, a couple of minutes, and that energy will build up in your aura for 4 days. So you touch the stones for a little while, you take that part of you away with you as well. And I think that is incredible. Yeah. And we thought, wow, let's check on the time. Then, as Basti, he's been with me today, we decided to do some other experiments, because I met a Tibetan Lama, which comes to Avebury once a year actually. He's an amazing guy. He has a healing day, and if you want to go along to have healing, you see this Tibetan Lama. Life doesn't get better than that, does it? And so anyway, Busty booked in because he had cancer at the time and wanted some healing, and I thought I'd book in as well. And but I didn't want to know about healing. I wanted to know how in ancient Tibet, how did that Lama think they moved the stones from Stonehenge and to places like that? And that was my question. I was all geared up for that. And so I asked him, how do you think they moved the stones to get them to Stonehenge and Avebury? And he just said, well, in my tradition, they contact the genie of the stone. And the genie of the stone is like its spirit, yeah? Its persona. And you tap into the genie. So I thought, wow, that's great. How do I tap into the genie? How can I do this? And it took many months of things, and things weren't working out, and we couldn't relate to them. And then I suddenly remembered that these energy patterns, these geospirals, change direction of their directional flow 6 days after a new or full moon. Not at the new or full moon, but 6 days afterwards, which is quite interesting because our Druid ancestors would always start their kind of new year, for example, 6 days after the spring equinox. Yeah? It would always be on the 6th day. Pliny records, and as does Caesar, that the Druids would only collect mistletoe 6 days after a full moon. It was always the 6 days. And these were masters of nature, so they clearly identified with the geospiral pattern. So I thought, yeah, 6 days, that might be the key. And what we experienced at places like Stonehenge, when my dad was alive and I used to do tours with him, that's when you could touch the stones at Stonehenge. Leave the security guards now. You pay your $21 to go, 21 quid to go into Stonehenge, and you're not allowed to touch the stones anymore. It is an outrage. So when I take people into Stonehenge, I've learned a canny way where everybody can touch the stones. We spiral in, yeah, so they're seeing you spiral in, but we're touching that side of us with every single stone at Stonehenge, so we spiral in. They don't cotton on to that. But anyway, we were at Stonehenge, and we were saying interact with the third band above the ground, which is on a stone. For argument's sake, it could be down here, it could be up there. It's like that. You put your feet apart like this, 6 days after full moon, and you'll feel a force do that to you, or a force that pushes you into the stone, and then you have to kind of get off the stone like that, yeah? It's a key point, chakra point on the stones, for example. Anyway, at Stonehenge with Dad, no insurance in those days because this is the early 90s, no nanny state as such, and there was this pagan, lovely chap, lovely looking chap actually, but garbed with all of these pentacles and dragons and rings and, you know, just full up of all this amazing jewellery. And we're saying, oh, you know, we're going to interact with this energy band now. And we described how to do it. He wanted to go first. We thought, yeah, let him go first. And then he was thrown back about 3 to 4 feet and just missed a stone, a recumbent stone on the ground. We thought, wow, something is going on there. So when Busty and I were trying to do the further experiments, we realised the 6th day is important. That's when it pushes you in or out of the stone. Now Busty works at Thruxton, which is an airport. Yeah, it's an airport in Hampshire. And he's a pilot himself. So you can get some equipment that can register things like weight and weightlessness. Yeah. So what we decided to do was, I wonder if those bands can make something lighter or heavier, depending on the phase of the moon, yeah? And that was like the intuitional moment. So anyway, so Busty went on to the stone, we started to measure his weight, and remarkably, and talk to him about this, remarkably, within 3 minutes, well, less than that actually, here remember, I think it might have been a minute and a half, he gained 3 stone. Yeah, instantly put the weight on. And as soon as he moved away from that interaction point, his weight went back to normal. So I thought I'd give it a go. I'm always trying to diet and lose 100 pounds. So I don't want to put on 2 stones. He goes back to normal anyway. And I interacted with the stones, and Basti said, you're losing the weight. Yay. And I lost 4 or 5 pounds. So we started to really interact with this nodal point and discovered that that can change weight. And I'm sure that's what the Tibetans were talking about. It's the genie of the stone. Now, we were talking about frequencies earlier. Has anybody interacted with the Mary or Michael currents? Yeah. Well, Mary and Michael, those 2 entwining currents that go around the St. Michael ley line, which you can see in the pub now. They've got the ley line in the pub, haven't they? But just imagine 2 interacting currents going through. At Avebury, they do somewhere where they don't do anything else in the world. That's fantastic. At the portal stones, the southern entrance, those 2 gigantic stones, one of which is called the Devil's Chair, isn't it? They come together as one, representing balance and harmony in an alchemic marriage. They come together as one and then they flow through sight. I'm with said team that do the experiments, so I thought, well, maybe I can shift their reality away from just stones into earth energies and see what we get, yeah? That was the kind of idea behind it. So we put in, my idea was, we go right to the obelisk stone. It's above the geospiral earth chakra. It also has Mary and Michael there. Got to pick up some signals there. Now, don't tell English Heritage or the National Trust this, but we had copper probes about that long to go deep, deep, deep into the ground, yeah, to see if we could register any signals. So we put the probes in, I'm thinking, got to get something here. Bang! All the equipment just blew. Oh no, so they're fiddling around with it and they've got to get it all back, and I'm saying, well, move over a little bit this way and put the equipment back into the ground. Boom! It went again. So I thought, oh, I'm not waiting another 45 minutes to get this right, where can we go? So I thought, we're going just on the Mary current, because traditionally the female dragon lines that flow through the land, globally, across the world, are said to be more gentle, a little bit more kind of healing. So I thought, well, what we could do is put the probes into the Mary current and we'll see what we get. So they did that, they put the probes in and they did, I think it was something like a 40-minute test, and they have to do their control on one point, they have to do another control on another point, and they did all of that, took it back to the lab, then got in contact with me and said, my God, we've picked up on the frequencies of the Mary current. Yeah, I thought, oh, like, this is just fantastic. And the remarkable thing was, when we began to analyse these frequencies being emitted, you always have that 7 Hertz Schumann resonance. You know our brains give off Hertz frequencies. We have alpha, don't we? Around about sort of 7 Hertz relaxation, that is, and we have higher Hertz when we're mentally thinking things through. So we can have quiet moments and we can have moments of brain activity, which goes from beta, alpha, anyway, it's just all different frequencies of how you think. Well, the earth energy currents reflect our minds. Yeah? So when you have an earth energy current, it's reflecting everything you have in your brain. So when you kind of walk to the centre of an energy current, and it has to be the kind of centre, your brain waves actually go into relaxation, we discovered, through the harmony of the earth energies being emitted. And I thought, you know, that is remarkable. That Gaia and her energy lines, her meridian lines, her chakra points are identical to us. We are truly Gaia's children, and she is truly our mother to reflect this. And then we kind of had a moment. I was talking at a lecture, I can't remember where it was, I think it was in Glastonbury actually, and there happened to be a chap talking about the Bosnian pyramids that I called Sam. And there are these pyramids that were discovered in Bosnia and things like that, and he'd done all experiments similar to mine. And he gave me that eureka moment. He said, you know, I was on about the frequencies. He said, oh, it's 25 Hertz there. I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, you don't know what 25 Hertz is, Maria? No, I don't know what 25 Hertz is. Please tell me. And he said, it's the frequency of levitation. Yeah? So I think that the stones could have been moved because they're interacting with its chakra point, there, and if you have an energy current at 25 hertz or thereabouts, you could levitate something as well. So I think it was the earth energies and the stones combined, just like the Tibetan Lama said, that combines together to make movement. So when we look at the landscape and when we look at an ancient site like Avebury, for example, we can see that the stones have chakra points and the earth has these amazing chakra points. And commonly you have either a 3.5 coiled spiral, which is a base chakra. If you look to ancient Hindu drawings, it will start coiling up, won't it, with 3.5 coils. The base chakra. Have a look at some old pictures of that and it will come up the system. So quite often you have 3.5 coils, which is depicted in places like Newgrange in megalithic artwork, for example, and these would represent the base chakra. 7 coiled energy geospirals, they represent the heart, or the high heart. Yeah. There's quite a lot of people are talking about the higher chakras now, aren't they? Turquoise for the higher heart, for example. So these energies can literally interact with us when we go there. So when we go to Avebury, we can talk about the heart centres. Yeah? Oh, excuse me, that was a gulp then. Serpent Mound in Ohio, for example, has 3.5 coils. That would be a base chakra type of monument. Some monuments have more than one. They can be base chakra, solar plexus, heart, solar plexus. And they're ever so easy to divine. You know, these are such powerful patterns, these geospirals. They're much more powerful than Mary and Michael. And that's why Hamish said it was the blind spring, the underground water that caused Mary and Michael to veer off. You literally just need a dowsing rod, an open heart, and be able to move a few steps. And if you do that at Avebury and you start off at the centre of the geospiral and you just walk a few paces, the force of that underground yin water makes your rod go bang, and it'll bring it back like that. It will literally sweep like that. And that's how you would identify the chakra point and also how you would identify Earth's healing waters. So, I hope that when we look at ancient sites now, because the theme of this talk was chakras, wasn't it, that we can view places on the planet of exceptional power, of exceptional force like Avebury, because make no mistake, the world's largest stone circle, sited at Avebury, was for global significance. Just like Stonehenge is a site of global significance. And together, all of these ancient sites together created a kind of web, if you like, of energy centres and energy power. Just like Silver Hill, for example. And our ancients identified these power places, put their monuments on them and brought them to life with Gaia's living energies. So it wasn't just a case of, you know, I think I'll put a stone circle there. I mean, take Stonehenge, for example. Have a real look at that landscape. It's on sloping ground. Yeah? It's on sloping ground, so much so that one lot of stones got to go in the ground a bit further than the others to create that perfect circle. If they wanted a better place, then they would have gone further up the hill. It would have been more level. They'd gone further down the hill. No, they plugged it in there because of the geospiral phenomenon. And our ancient ancestors were aware of that. How do I look for it? Yeah. When I used to do a lot of water divining. I don't now. I don't like the whole boring process into Gaia. But I teach water divining. One way that got people for South Africa, we used to teach a lot of people to douse from South Africa. And how long have we got left? Or have we gone over?
No, it's about 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes, yeah. Okay, great. So yeah, when we kind of, let's go back to a concept what you can take away with you, because I think this is important. When we look at these ancient sites, places like Avebury, root yourself in really to these energies. And like I said, make them come alive through your body. Because what the ancients were looking for, like I said at Stonehenge, they were looking for these energy patterns to root themselves in. If you root your bodies literally into these sites and into the energies, they will absorb through you. take that away with you when you go to an ancient site, for example. Then if we look to the Templar churches, yeah, there's loads in the area. Yeah, I mean, you've only got to go around Avebury and you start to see the Templar symbols. And the Masons, they're great in a way, because they just put the diviners right in the window like that to say that this is sacred space. You know when some churches and mosques and buildings have that dome effect? Like that, yeah? You know West Kennet Barrow would have been originally corbelled roofed like that, creating that kind of dome effect. That creates earth energy to spiral within that environment, yeah? So again, if you went to a place like West Kennet Long Barrow rather, and you stand in the far chamber, as you go in, slightly to the right hand side, you'll notice a dip in the ground where everybody naturally goes to. Because again, people will go to where they feel they should be. So at West Kennet they tend to do this, and you see a little bit of dip like that. That's because again, you're on a very strong vortex spiral pattern, not necessarily geospiral, it's a different type of spiral, but nonetheless you're on that spiral, which then imbues the whole building. But as we mentioned at the very beginning, Lung Mei, the dragon's breath, is all around you, so you absorb it. Do you see what I mean? And really with your intent, get the energies to absorb in really deep inside you, right the way down to the cellular level. One of my favourite sites in the area is Stony Littleton, Long Barrow. Yeah? Who's been to Stony? One person there. Stony Littleton's amazing. It's in Sunset, yeah. And you have to just come on my workshop tours to Stony Littleton. Well, yeah, that's what you all have to do. And it's a barrow like West Kennet Long Barrow, which I'm sure we're familiar with West Kennet Long Barrow, aren't we? Just up the road. Well, Stony Littleton is a long barrow, just like that. But instead of being able to walk into it, a bit like the Scottish barrows that you go into, like Maze Howe and other ones, you have to bow to sacred space. So you have to get down on your hands and knees and crawl to the length of this building to get to the chambers, yeah? And all of the chambers are corbelled round like this, and there's enough room for a person to sort of crouch in that energy field, if we look at it as an energy field, and start to absorb that energy. Now, if you when you want to pick up on earth energy, start with your hands like that, really out, yeah? So that, and then go down with your hands like that, and then start to feel at places like West Kennet or the Obelisk Stone, like this. So you start like that, so you kind of get a bit of a feel, and then with your hand come up, yeah? And do that a couple of times so you attune into the energy, you attune into the energy field, and do that. And once you've done that a couple of times, let your hand be guided to where your hand wants to go. So for example, it might be that way, yeah? And just let your hand do what it wants to do, because you've attuned into the energy. And again, 9 times out of 10, your hand will start to do that. And go away in one direction. And do that a couple of times so you get used to feeling the energy field. And then let your hand just do what it wants to, and you'll find it begins to follow a spiral pattern, yeah? And if you do that above chalice well, it's very, very powerful, because that's really above some sacred water. And I always get people to spiral there. And in fact, it was only last year when I took a group of American nurses, which I work with, because we believe in these energies, and they incorporate it into the hospital agenda of where to place the beds and things like that. We do all bed placement. But anyway, we've done the spiral energy, and I remember saying to Basti, I take a photograph with my phone like that. Got my phone like that, boom, my phone blew. I've got through 4 cameras, a phone, with these earth energy patterns. But over these power places, my point is this: interact with the earth energy. Don't think of it as something 2D on paper. Don't think about it intellectually. Experience it, yeah? And once you experience it, you'll realise that it does interact with you. It does change. don't just think about, you know, these megalithic points, interact with them. And remember what we said from the get-go. As soon as you interact for a couple of minutes, you take that energy away with you, and 4 days later it's building up. And again, I've got Curly photographs of all of this. And that's why I decided many years ago, when, you know, when you get your website together, I thought, what am I going to call it? And I thought the Avebury Experience, that's my website, because to really understand earth energy, it's about experiencing it, yeah? And then the amazing thing is you can start to measure people's auras. So say, for example, I dowsed your aura. I'm sure there's a lot of dowsers here. And let's say on average, normally an aura is about there. Once you interact with the megaliths, once you interact with the energy field, it takes you out there, yeah? And what I do as well, and again, you can all do this, you can all make a healing remedy, you can all take something from Avebury away with you, because this is a gift to mankind. This was a gift from our ancestors to us. So what I love to do is I take a bowl out with me, some mineral water, yeah, non-carbonated, not fizzy stuff, and over that geospiral pattern, because it's said to be all cleansing, all healing, all purifying, yeah, like it will purify your body water, it will purify any other water, it will make that water holy. Put your water in that, always ask of the Mother, ask of Gaia to imbue that water with their sacred healing, geospiral, vortex energy, or say it in your own words. Leave it for the minimum of 20 minutes or douse to see how many minutes it should be on there. And take that water, put it back into preferably a glass bottle if you have it, or nanny state. Might say, don't say glass, you'll cut yourselves. But ideally, you want it in glass. Put that in, go home, fill it up with a little bit of vodka, a little bit of brandy to act as a preservative, and that's a healing remedy. Yeah, and then just take a few drops, or again, not allowed to say that anymore, can't take anything in orally, nanny state. So to be PC correct, you're supposed to put it into your hands like that, and you put it into your chakra system. Yeah, I mean, I take it orally. I don't mind that, it's sacred water. That's another thing we can do at these sites. And I've spent many years working with these healing energies of the chakra points, healing energies of remedy systems, and I'm having my next workshop, if you're interested in doing this together as a group, making remedies, going to every single PowerPoint at Avebury, Knoll Down, so that's a very important area, West Kennet Longbar, another very important area, where we make remedies. We make a whole remedy kind of medicine kit, if you will, and that's on May the 10th. But I've got some leaflets, if anyone's interested, that you can go away with. But the idea is, behind all of this, these amazing chakra points, look what they can do. They empower the stones, they can cleanse us, we can make remedies. They have sound, they have colour, they have a life and a spirit of their own. And for me, Avebury is the amazing feminine healing place that I have been to, and I've been to a lot of sacred sites in a lot of countries. And for me, this is such an amazing place, and we should be thankful with gratitude. It's just over there, isn't it? It's just over there. And when we live nearby. So, bringing this talk to a close, I hope that I've shown you maybe a little bit something different about water and about sacred sites, how you can work with the chakras of sacred sites, and how you can make remedies, because this is a healing place. It's a glorious place. It's Avebury. Thank you.
Have you been to Ross in Chapel?
Yeah.
You've been down to the You just speak about what you found there.
What I found there was you get a particular type of Templar pattern. Yeah. So the Templars followed an ancient ritual. You have an axis of a church. Yeah, you have the axis of a church. What you do, the bishop. You've got two doors in churches, haven't you? Yeah. One is always closed, the other one's always open, isn't it? Just check that when you go to a church, especially at Bosnian chapel, for example. So what you do, when a bishop comes to town, both doors are magically opened, yeah? Because a bishop, or a mason, or a Templar would walk around a church in a particular manner. what they would do is they go down one part of the axis line. I can't remember offhand which way around it is Bosnian chapel, but the idea is you walk down one way, you go to what's called a power point, and it's like where you have this shower of earth energy coming out the ground, which when you measure it is full of negative ions, which are really good for you. So they would stand on the vortex point. It's supposed to spiritually expand your aura, then you walk a different way out of the church. That's why one door's closed. But the commoners, the congregation rather, they can't do that. They go in one way and they come out the other. It was what the Templars always did, and that's one of the things that I douse and show people at that chapel, which is truly a magical place. Bosnian chapel here, not far from Edinburgh, Scotland.
Sorry, quick question. You mentioned a number of coils. Do they actually relate to the Hertz frequency?
Yeah, they are on. Well, it depends what type of how many coils it is to what the frequency is. Yeah, but some of them are Schumann resonance. Some of them are a little bit higher.
So I'm just wondering if 3.5 coils is 7 Hertz or 3.5.
No, it doesn't work
not
like
quite.
that. It just depends on where they are as well, what sort of geology they're on. Chalk, you see, chalk here is highly conductive. Underground water is highly conductive. When I was in Arkansas, that's under a crystal bed. Sue would love that. It's under a crystal bed, and so that's highly conductive. So they'd be higher hertz there. You saw me a little bit higher. The geology would affect that as well.
I heard there was a convergence of 3 underground mirrors in Avebury. Is that true?
Well, if you had a look at one of the, well, 2 maps done independently by 2 master dowsers, they're identical, yeah. One's called Chris Bird and one's called Guy Underwood that I mentioned earlier, and there's a convergence of numerous rivers. They're coming out of that underground yin water and converging out everywhere. Yeah, that's why you'll commonly hear them called blind springs. You can't see them underground, and that's what emits the spiral pattern. So yeah, it's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal how many.
Can I ask you for just further reading that you'd recommend? Really, I've written down some of the people that you've mentioned, but there are a few books you really recommend, but I think it's
There's a good book.
certainly your own.
Oh yeah, Avebury, Sun, Moon and Earth, the Essential Dowsing Guide to show you how to interact with lots of different types of energy patterns, and I've got a few copies here today. Hamish Miller's books are very good, and there's a great book coming out, Divine in Ancient Sites, Insights into Their Creation, which will be out in about 8 weeks, that takes you through how to douse all different types of energy patterns, because unbelievably there was no book on earth energies and ley lines that combined everything. Hamish would do his thing, my dad would do his thing, so what I've done, I've combined all that knowledge and put it into one book. So you can look at all different energy patterns all across the world, from Athens to Serpent Mound to the pyramids, and see what sort of energies are going on there.
That's coming out.
And that's coming out in 8 weeks. It's called Divine in Ancient Sites, Insights into Their Creation. It tells you how to harmonise and spiritualise your home.
Is that what you were saying about between the line between the 2 steps?
Yeah, that's quite possibly it. That's a wonderful photograph. You'll have to share that, Donna. Yeah. Any more questions? No? There we go.
What should I do? Before you ask